Okay, you sent us some fantastic material, a video transcript, really diving deep into how you find an English-speaking job, specifically over in Germany.
Hmm.
So our mission today really is to pull out the most valuable nuggets, the sort of actionable tips from this for landing a role there where, knowing German isn't essential.
Yeah, and the material makes a really, well, quite an encouraging point right up front. Finding these roles, it's not just possible, it's actually becoming more and more common.
Oh, interesting.
They even note the German government seems to be encouraging this now. So it might actually be easier than it was, say, a few years back. It's definitely a changing landscape for international talent.
That sets a great stage. So let's jump right into navigating this specific job search landscape then. Where does the material suggest you even begin?
Well, you start with the big ones, the general job search engines, the ones you probably already know. But the absolute key here is specificity.
Okay, so hit the major platforms. Which ones did the source actually mention?
LinkedIn, Indeed, and Xing. Xing, which they noted might be pronounced more like Zing.
Zing, right. Sing or Zing. Got it. So you're on these big sites, but you can't just search generically, can you? That's where the specificity comes in.
Exactly. That's the critical tactic they emphasized. Using very specific keywords in your search bar.
Okay.
We're talking terms like English, English speaking, or maybe international experience.
So you're not just searching for, say, project manager, you're searching for project manager English speaking, or maybe adding international experience to the search.
Precisely. And the reasoning, well, it's pretty clear. Doing this helps you cut through the noise.
Right.
It filters out countless listings that do require fluent German, and it brings the relevant English-friendly opportunities right to the top for you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You don't want to spend hours wading through jobs you can't actually apply for.
Exactly. And a really practical step they suggested is setting up alerts on these platforms. Use those specific English keywords plus your job criteria. That way, new relevant listings come straight to your inbox. You don't miss anything.
Smart. Okay, so that's using the big platforms, but using them intelligently. What about looking, beyond those usual suspects?
Yeah, that's the second key strategy they highlighted.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself. You need to explore local and maybe more specialized platforms too.
Like job boards just for individual cities. Is that the idea?
Yes, absolutely. The material specifically pointed to local city job sites. They used jobs.berlin.de as an example. And they highlight that most major German cities probably have their own dedicated job boards just like that.
Interesting. I might not have thought to look there straight away.
And also, check the official resources, like the Make It in Germany portal. These platforms are often specifically set up to help international professionals find opportunities in Germany.
Okay, official portals, local city sites. And wasn't there something mentioned about community platforms as well, like social media?
Yes, exactly. Leveraging groups on platforms like Facebook. The search strategy they suggested is pretty simple. Just combine the city name with your field or industry.
So something like Hamburg marketing jobs or Frankfurt finance professionals.
Just like that. And here's a really interesting little detail the material brought up. Apparently, people often post jobs in these community groups because they might get a referral bonus if someone they recommend gets hired.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of opens up a whole different, maybe less formal hiring channel.
That's a fantastic insight into how things might actually work on the ground. So strategic searching on the big sites, exploring local and official boards, and tapping into these community networks, that really broadens your reach, doesn't it?
It gives you a much wider net, definitely. Covers avenues that maybe a lot of international applicants might just overlook.
Okay, so once you've found some potential leads, or maybe even a four, how do you, proactively work towards actually landing a role?
Right. This brings us squarely to the power of networking. The source material really emphasizes this as a crucial strategy, and it applies both online and, well, in real life if you're there.
Okay, online networking immediately makes me think LinkedIn again. How did they suggest using it for networking specifically?
They detailed a pretty direct approach. Don't hesitate. Send messages directly to recruiters or to people working at companies that interest you, maybe even management teams.
Really? Just reach out like that?
Yeah. And a key point they made is that this kind of direct outreach is not seen as inappropriate or overly pushy in Germany. That's important cultural context.
That is really valuable context.
Yeah.
Knowing it's okay to be direct can change your whole approach.
Totally. They sort of frame it as, Look, if you're genuinely interested, put yourself out there. What's the worst that can happen? You don't get a reply.
Yeah.
But the potential upside could be huge.
And for those maybe already in Germany, in-person networking is also recommended.
Absolutely. Things like attending local meetups, industry-specific events. They also suggested checking out events hosted at co-working spaces. Those tend to attract a really diverse professional crowd.
Yeah, good idea. And there's that nice side benefit mentioned too, right? It's not just professional networking. It's a great way to start building a social life in a new place.
A definite dual benefit, yeah. And the material shares this really compelling story here, an anecdote that illustrates this proactive approach perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
So someone identified a company they were really keen on. But there were no relevant job postings on the company's website at all. None.
Okay.
So they just sent an email anyway, cold. Attached their CV and a cover letter explaining their interest.
Wow, okay. Bold move. What happened?
Well, the company was so impressed by their profile and their initiative, they actually created a new position specifically for them.
No way. They created a job.
Yes, that was the opportunity that actually allowed this person to move to Germany in the first place.
That is incredible. It just goes to show, doesn't it, the potential payoff of taking that kind of initiative.
Exactly. The material frames it perfectly. You weigh that minimal risk, maybe not hearing back, against the huge potential for something amazing, like a whole new opportunity being created just for you.
It really hammers home that idea of being proactive, not just reacting to job ads, you see.
Definitely.
So, okay, direct, proactive networking online and off vital strategy. Now, when it comes to the actual application documents like the CV, the material highlighted one specific detail as potentially the most important tip, like the one thing not to mess up.
Yes, this was presented as really crucial and something often overlooked, the CV detail.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the key?
Send your CV in English. But, and this is the crucial part, make sure it follows the standard German CV format.
Okay, hold on. So the content, your experience, skills, education, all that's in English. But the structure, the layout, how it's organized, that should look like a typical German CV.
Precisely. And the material is very clear on why this matters so much.
Okay.
Sending the content in English immediately signals to the employer, okay, this person is applying for an English-speaking role. English is their language for this application, sets expectations clearly.
Transparency from the outset. Got it.
Right. But using the German format is critical because, as they explain, CVs that don't conform to the expected local format, well, sometimes they can get automatically filtered out by software, or maybe just disregarded by hiring managers who are used to seeing things presented a certain way.
Wow, that's a really vital piece of insider knowledge. You could be perfectly qualified, but if your CD just looks fundamentally wrong to them, format-wise, it might not even get a serious look.
Exactly that. The material contrasts this correct approach with common mistakes.
Yeah.
Like people just sending a CV formatted for their home country. Or, even worse, trying to use machine translation to put their CV into German.
Oh dear. Which probably results in errors anyway and makes it immediately obvious you don't actually speak German well, potentially leading to awkwardness later if they call you for an interview expecting German skills you don't have.
Precisely. This whole English content German format approach is about being transparent about your language skills while also demonstrating you understand and can adapt to local professional norms. It sets the right expectations on both sides.
It seems a bit counterintuitive at first glance, doesn't it? Applying for an English job but using a German format. But the why behind it is incredibly logical when you explain it like that. It's about navigating the local system smartly while being upfront.
It's presented as, maybe a subtle detail, but a really powerful one that can significantly affect whether your application even gets considered seriously.
Okay, so bringing all these different points together then, how does the material kind of summarize the whole job search experience?
Well, they definitely acknowledge that finding a job, especially internationally, can be stressful.
Right.
And you'll likely face some discouragement along the way. That's normal.
Sure.
However, they ultimately frame it as a numbers game.
A numbers game, so just blast out hundreds of applications.
Well, not just random volume. They emphasize that success is tied to the volume of applications, yes, but combined with the strategic application of all these tips we've been discussing.
Ah, okay.
So it's about applying these intelligent tactics consistently across many relevant opportunities. Smart volume, not just sheer volume.
And they also circle back to the importance of the application materials themselves, right? Like the CV and cover letter.
Absolutely. Creating a really strong, tailored CV and cover letter to go along with this strategic searching and networking is, foundational. You still need quality applications.
Okay. So, reflecting on this deep dive into the material, we've covered smart ways to search the big platforms using specific keywords. We explored the value of checking those local and community job boards. We talked about the critical power of proactive networking both online and off, including that amazing story of a role being created.
Yeah, that was a great one.
And we really dug into that seemingly small but really vital detail about using the German CV format even when you're applying in English.
Those are definitely the core actionable takeaways presented.
Right.
The things you can do to significantly boost your chances.
Right. And here's maybe a final thought to leave you, the listener, with building on that crucial CV format point. Beyond just the specific tactics of searching and applying, what does this necessity of adapting things, like your CV format, tell us about the balance you need when you're pursuing international opportunities? How much is it about demonstrating your universal job skills versus showing you can understand and navigate the specific cultural or, bureaucratic systems of a new country? How important is simply knowing how the local system works even when the job itself doesn't require the local language? Something to maybe mull over as you embark on or continue your own international job search.
Navigating the system is definitely a skill in itself, isn't it?
It really seems so. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.